record. What does 77% of the population fear? Dying? Venomous snakes? Killer clowns? According to Very Well Mind, roughly 3 in 4 people suffer from glossophobia, or a fear of public speaking. Today, I will discuss the need to bring public speaking classes into American high schools and the plan to have that policy enforced. I will also ask the audience to visualize what a world with more high schoolers that were trained in public speaking would look like. Public speaking is something that we've all had to encounter at some point in our lives. I understand it's not the most pleasant or exciting activity, but this speech will give you more insight into the long-term benefits of practicing public speaking. I was in a speech and debate class in middle school, and obviously I'm enrolled at a public speaking class myself here at UF. I've also done extensive research on this topic. I will be addressing 3 major points. First, why we need public speaking classes in American high schools. Second, the plan to have that policy formed. Lastly, I will ask the audience to imagine how the world would look different if we had more young people that knew how to publicly speak. For the next slide. Why should we care about public speaking? Glossophobia is not only a prevalent fear, but it causes negative effects in people's lives. Lisa Fritzscher of Very Well Mind states that almost every job requires a magnitude of public speaking. If someone is unable to speak in front of others, it could pose serious limitations in their careers. Kelly Allison of ethos3.com states that people with glossophobia make about 10% less than those who don't have the phobia. People who fear public speaking also have a 15% lower chance of getting a job promotion. Counselor Eric Patterson writes that public speaking fear can lead to low self-esteem, an inability to accept criticism, and pessimism. Glossophobia is a subset of anxiety, meaning it can have adverse physical health effects. According to Awry.com, people with glossophobia have a 26% higher chance of developing coronary heart disease. One might say in response to all of this, sure, glossophobia is bad, but there's therapy and counseling. Well, not everyone has the luxury of affording therapy or finding a suitable therapist. Furthermore, only 8% of people who suffer from glossophobia go after professional help, according to Awry.com. For the next slide. So, how do we combat this issue? The solution I recommend is that we start early by instilling a highly encouraged available public speaking course in US public high schools. The plan to make that policy would not be easy, but we can start small by convincing people connected to our local school district boards on why public speaking classes are needed. We can convince them through a variety of methods, whether it be through writing letters, creating petitions online, creating our own speeches, or any other creative ethical methods we can think of. Once we rally enough support with our local school district boards, we can then further spread the message through convincing other school districts, other counties, and perhaps whole states. One day, we may have enough state support to be writing to the President of the United States themselves to make this policy a reality. I know it will take a lot of time and a lot of funding, but I believe that one day it is tangible. For the next slide. Taking a public speaking class has a long list of positives. In a knowledge review article, author Doss writes that public speaking boosts confidence and better self-expression skills. By taking a public speaking class, one learns how to make effective gestures, which is crucial considering the leadgroup.com writes that 90% of in-person communication stems from body language. Don Bernard of virtualspeech.com also states that public speaking teaches people how to listen attentively and think critically. Public speaking skills are also extremely useful when it comes to finding a career. Educationweek.org states that public speaking skills are the #1 softer skill when it comes to employers looking for employees. Refer to next slide. More than 80% of employers say that public speaking skills are crucial when it comes to integrating into the workforce. Now, some people may argue that public speaking classes in high school is not a good idea because it can make high schoolers even more anxious. It can warrant a lot of negative reactions when it comes to speaking in front of people. However, a 2021 study conducted by the peer-reviewed Journal of Education and Educational Development found that public speaking classes actually reduce speech anxiety. In a sample of 374 college students, half of them reported that they feared public speaking more than death before taking the course. However, after the course, the number of students who still said that they feared public speaking more than death dropped by 33.5%. Refer next slide. Now, let's take a step back and do some visualization. What if we didn't impose any sort of public speaking class in American public high schools? We'd have a generation of adults who wouldn't know how to communicate effectively with their peers and colleagues. They'd be less confident and less likely to reach their full potential, all because they can't bring themselves to publicly speak. In contrast, if we gave students an opportunity to sharpen their public speaking skills, we'd have a generation of adults who'd be more bold and more willing to take initiative. They'd flourish in their career and social lives. I definitely know that public speaking changed me for the better. I was brave enough to initiate a handshake with a kid I'd never met when visiting my old high school. I can ask people questions around campus as a freshman without feeling embarrassed. Most importantly, it's much easier for me to make friends now than it was in middle and high school. For the next slide. To wrap up, we need to work together to make public speaking classes a reality in American high schools. We can start as individuals by spreading this important message to people connected to our local school district boards. I'm passionate about the topic of public speaking because it's opened my life in so many ways possible. Throughout middle and high school, I've encountered so many people who simply don't know how to communicate or tense up when speaking in front of other people. I used to be one of them, but I'm here to let people know that glossophobia does not have to last forever. It can be resolved through patience, effort, and a quality public speaking course. All right, does anyone have any questions? If you do, just raise a hand or unmute. So I want to ask the question, why do you think a lot of teenagers or young people don't like speaking in front of people? What do you think could be the main culprit? Does anyone want to answer that? Yembi?
I guess maybe because they are not so experienced with public speaking, so they have no chance to practice their public speaking skills, so they feel nervous.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I also think another reason is that, especially in our social media digital age, there's a lot of consciousness around self-image because we have so much internet and access to social media. I think that could also be a reason. And another interesting point I wanted to bring to the speech, but I didn't have enough time with the limits that was given me, is that because of the prevalence of social media, screens, etc., a lot of teenagers are getting less in-person communication. So I think especially my generation could be less used to speaking in front of people all the time. So they don't think it's necessarily that important. Any other questions? Another question I like to ask is, what topics, if there was a public speaking class, a universal public speaking class in American high schools, what do you think kids would like to speak about? Like their hobbies or people they admire? Yes, Rachel?
Kids have different opinions. likely they are talking about what they are in. Okay. However, most of the kids doesn't share thinking. It's difficult to present something in the group, then it's very hard to find common topic. So the best way would be let maybe give homework to inform students to do some research work on the topic and people same topic found out carefully.
Another question I'd like to ask is, why do you think employers see public speaking as so important? Because the article that I got that information from, that statistic, it also mentioned how when asked, employers said that public speaking skills actually topped importance over critical thinking, teamwork, and writing. Why do you think it's the #1 softer skill? Yes, Yanbing.
Because communication actually plays a really vital role in people's work in the job, and public speaking actually is part of communication process. It shows other people, for example, your customers, your confidence of your products, and maybe help the employee just to convince other people, yeah, about their products and their work, their job, what they are doing. I think so.
Yeah, that's a really great answer. I think so too. All right, so that's about it for the Q&A. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. It was very nice speaking. Thank you.